How's it going, y'all? Welcome in to another episode of Nasty Bunch and Beyond. I'm your host, Dalton Trigg. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Drew Johnson. You can find both of us on X at Dalton_Trigg and at Coach Drew33. And as always, this podcast is brought to you by To The Top merch. Be sure to go and get you some nice Southern Miss gear at tothetopmerch.shopify.com and use our promo code NastyBunchPod to get 20% off your entire order. They have some great stuff that they keep on the side all the time, and then they also have these limited time drops. If you want to look them up on Instagram, again, it's To The Top merch. They got some great stuff. So, and
They have a
again,
sweet, like, iced out hat going on, man. It's like silver with the USM interlock. It's pretty
yeah,
cool.
yeah. They got a lot of great stuff. I'm personally a sucker for the vintage stuff myself, but even their non-vintage stuff is very nice. So be sure to go check it out. Again, that's promo code NastyBunchPod and you use that promo code at tothetopmerch.shopify.com. Get your 20% off. DJ, we got some stuff to talk about. We will get into some of the latest transfer portal stuff that's going on with football, because there's been a lot of nice stuff going on there. The high school recruiting has been promising, in my opinion. But I wanted to start out with men's basketball because Jay Ladner and his coaching staff, we need to give credit to them. We need to give credit to the players for stepping up with, their top scorer going out at the time in Isaac Tavares with a fractured hand, and he's out for an extended period of time. But this team has come together. They have strung together 4 straight wins now. They've won their last 2 road games, and right now they're sitting at the very top of the Sun Belt in the conference. They're at the very top of the conference, number 1 in Sun Belt.
Who'd have thunk it?
For Southern Miss men's basketball. So, after that rocky start, had a couple of games where they should have won. I mean, honestly, they hadn't gelled as a team in those first several games, but man, you look back at the early schedule: Buffalo, South Carolina. The first half of that Miami game before they, kind of early in the second half when it started going downhill there, but they were in every one of those games, and specifically that Buffalo and South Carolina game where you essentially lost the game at the end because of one guy. Buffalo had one guy. I called him the second coming of JJ Redick because it's like not the tallest, but shorter white kid that was just nailing 3 after 3 against us at Buffalo. And then, the South Carolina game, same thing. It's like you had them. You're up double digits with like 3 minutes left, and then Meechie Johnson just went nuts.
Yeah, he Meechie'd us. It was bad.
Yeah, and then there was a controversial call on Izzy Hart there at the end that allowed the game to go to overtime for some South Carolina free throws. But all that being said, rough start aside, here they are. I mean, they've made it this far. They've gelled as a team even without Tavares. And I think we need to give them their flowers so far. Now, there's still a lot of work to do. Like tonight, for example, they start a 4-game road trip. Starts at Troy, I believe. Yeah, we play Troy tonight. The first of a 4-game road trip is going to be tough, but I mean, look, you win this one tonight, there is a very good possibility that you come out of this 4-game road trip 3-1 at worst. So get this one tonight, and I think this one's probably going to be the toughest one of the 4-game road trip. If you can find a way to get it, things are going to be looking good for this team. But I can't say how proud I am of these dudes for coming together and having this type of success in a season where so many new players are on the roster. We knew it was going to take time to, build that chemistry and everything, but it's nice to see it come together in real time. And we're about halfway through the season now. And, when Tavares does come back, which we believe he will, before the conference tournament, get him mixed in there. And now you have these other guys who have developed and, they can score themselves and have chemistry even when he's not in the game. That's going to help this team out a bunch, at the tail end of this season and hopefully going into the conference tournament. And not to build the hype too much, DJ. I mean, you don't want to get your head too big in situations like this. But ESPN currently has the USM men's basketball team notched as a 15 seed in the NCAA tournament, playing against Gonzaga, and they're like way too early projections. So, you take care of business the rest of the way. Maybe we get a little bit of March Madness going on with this crew this year. But what have you thought about their play recently?
Well, to be fair, Dalton, if my head got much bigger, it would explode. Anyway, so there's donuts. Anyway, there's opportunity within adversity, and I think that this team has lived that sentiment throughout this whole season. Like you said, not only do you have a bunch of new guys, but right as you start kind of gelling, your top scorer goes out, and you got to go back to the drawing board, and you got to reestablish new roles for everybody. And that the turnaround on that was unreal. And our record is exemplary of that. Now, what I will be interested to see, and I'm pretty sure I said this on the last pod, I'll be interested to see how the roles shift and what this team looked like when Tavares comes back. Will Tavares still be incredibly ball dominant like he was, or will they shift his role? Will they alter his role a little bit? Because I'm going to tell you what, we've got some guys that can flat out go get some buckets, and they need to be getting just as many touches as they are now. So, it'll be very interesting to see whenever we get everyone healthy, how Coach Ladner sort of, gels everything back together, stirs the pot again, and, reestablishes certain roles. But I'm very confident because the way this team, adjusted, it's one of the better examples of, what was the statement? The obstacle is the opportunity. So it's one of the best examples of that I can think of. Yeah. And I couldn't be more pumped for Southern Miss men's basketball right now.
Well, look, and I don't know Isaac Tavares personally, but I think I've seen enough of him, so far, and how he carries himself, even like on social media and all that kind of stuff, the way he loves this team. I don't think it's going to be an issue at all. In fact, I think it probably, he probably wouldn't have had to be as ball dominant in those early games as he was, if other guys didn't, need that extra time to get comfortable and find their groove. So I think it's going to be a seamless transition personally. And Tyleek Weeks is a absolute bulldog, and he has stepped up, and his minutes have jumped to like 33 minutes per game now, because you got to have him on the court. But Tyleek Weeks will be very happy to see Tavares come back, in my opinion, because it'll lessen his load. He doesn't have to be like which, I mean, there are a lot of catalysts on this team, but it starts with Tyleek Weeks, in my opinion. Yep. So he's averaging, he leads the team, he's averaging 18 points a game, 6.3 rebounds, 2.1 assists, 1.4 steals, shooting nearly 50% from the field overall, 49.1. He's been great. And like I said, he's a bulldog. And the combination, I call them the bully buddies, because Tyleek Weeks and Dejai, I call him DJ Benet because I can't ever, pronounce his first name. But Weeks and Benet are the bully buddies. They are, when they get in the paint, they are hard to stop. Mm-hmm. And you look at Benet, he's averaging nearly a double-double, 9.9 points, 7.2 rebounds, nearly 66% shooting from the field. So, he you get it down low to Benet, he's going to be finishing more times than not. And the whole team is gritty, but just those two players specifically, when they get in the paint, they are a hard duo to handle. And there's not much 3-point shooting on this team, at least from a volume perspective. But I think this is the model they have set up can win you a Sun Belt championship,
I
especially
agree.
if you have Tavares come back and he's what he was before.
Yeah, man. If everything gels, we're set. I love Benet. Incredibly physical, just a junkyard dog. He kind of gets himself in trouble sometimes with his physicality. He's very foul prone. But
Hey, it's a good thing though. It's a good thing.
exactly. I would rather have to turn a guy down than turn a guy up, and you ain't got to turn that guy up. He's 100%. He'll run through a wall for you.
Yeah.
So I'm very pleased with him. But this team. You mentioned the 3-point shooting. I think if Caruth can, if he can stay consistent, because he had a big game the other day shooting the basketball. If he can stay consistent, he may be the answer for us as far as 3-point shooting is concerned. But another concern I have with Caruth is, his defensive placeability, if that means like what does he guard? I think he can. I think he can be very successful in situations where he's able to be matched up with someone that he can adequately defend. And I'm not saying that to be, negative or anything. It's just that some guys are more, defensively capable than others. And that's just a fact of basketball. I mean, that's
Yeah.
just the way things are. You're good at what you're good at, and you aren't good at what you aren't good at. And that's just, the way things are. But I think that the biggest thing for him will be to establish more consistency, and maybe he could be the answer for us as far as perimeter shooting is concerned. But
I'll
I'll also say I think Weeks has shown glimpses of being the answer as well. And I think that whenever Tavares comes back, you'll be able to play Weeks off the ball a little bit more, and maybe he can have a few more setup shooting opportunities. I think he'll thrive in that as
for
well.
sure. Now look, I don't think, Weeks, his bread and butter isn't like beyond the 3-point line, but just like in space, like
Yeah.
those mid-range shots and everything. I think he can definitely excel in that. But as far as the 3-point shooting for Weeks, I think it's not great. I think it's like 2 of 22
On the year, really?
on the year for 3-point attempts. But like I said, all around, it's not that bad because he's shooting such a high percent, nearly 50% from the floor. So the 3-point percentage is the only thing keeping him from 49.1% overall, and yet his 3-point percentage is like 9%. So
Wow.
that tells you how good he is in the in
He
the
must be
paint
taking some
and
long twos
inside the
because
3-point.
well, then I'm eating my words because he must be taking some long twos because
I'll
I've
tell
seen
you.
him.
Oh yeah. He's definitely taking some long ones, but I'll tell you who I'm curious about getting more perimeter shot, and I agree with Caruth. I think he can get there. And he's got some. I like Caruth's athleticism too. I mean, it's one of those. I mean, I know it's the cliche that they use, sneaky athleticism
Yeah.
with guys like Caruth. But I mean, he's got something there, and I like his game. But Shiante Tramble,
Yeah.
he's got on the year, he's shooting 53.1% from three. Now he's only attempted 32 threes, but he's 17 of 32 on his 3-point shooting so far this year. And he only plays about 12 minutes a game. So maybe if you get to and again, you're winning games right now without having to rely on the 3-point shot. But I think if you get in a spot where you need a big shot and you need some threes to fall, throw him in there a little bit more and see what you can do. Felipe Patino, we saw what he could do earlier this year in a game where he hit several threes. Like I think
Mhm.
he hit 6 or 7 threes in one game. So there's some options there, but Tramble, that's an interesting one for me because I didn't realize he had shot the three so well so far this year. 17 of 32. That's that's pretty solid.
It's pretty good.
And Kurt Lewis is probably our best 3-point shooter overall just because of the volume he shot him with. He's 39% from 3 so far this year on 82 attempts. So, Kurt Lewis, he plays, let's see, he plays 27 minutes a game and averages let's see, about 6-7 points a game. So you could possibly, squeeze some more out of there,
Mm.
if needed. So I don't know. There's a lot of interesting pieces on this roster, DJ. There's a lot of different areas where you look and it's like, man, you could probably, yeah, there might be something there. Get a little bit more out of here, out of there. Uh, but that's the beauty of a season too. It unfolds as you go along. And guys like Dylan Brumfield, we talked about him on the last pod. Started out as mainly just a distributor, passing the ball and everything, and now he's kind of picked things up as a scorer. And he shoots nearly 50% from the field. He can get you an assist, he can get you a steal, block. He's a do it all guy. And there's a lot of interesting pieces on this team. Probably one of the more talented rosters from top to bottom that Ladner and the crew have had in a long time. So since that last Sunbelt in-season Sunbelt title in 2023. So I'm very excited to see what comes of this as these next few weeks roll along and we get closer to the end of the season. But again, shout out to Coach Ladner and the guys because it's been great to watch. I mean, I'm a basketball fan at heart before anything else, and to see these guys doing what they're doing is awesome. And I can't wait for these Reed Green Coliseum renovations too, because these dudes deserve it. So,
Absolutely.
I did want to say one thing about it. We're not going to get into the renovation stuff, but I did hear that they are closing in that gap. I thought it was just a rumor, but the gap in between the court, like where the media section is, and the stands, there's always been that big gap going all the way around. They're going to fill that in. So it's going to be like a more intimate basketball experience, which I love. I think you need fans all around, the edges of the court and everything. It's going to be great. Now, I think they're cutting down the overall capacity of the stadium to do that, but I don't think that matters. I think having it to where you can fill out the stadium more reasonably and having it closer to the court, that's going to be awesome.
That's the key.
So I can't wait for that. It's going to be
That's
great.
what makes venues like I hate Duke, but Cameron Indoor,
Exactly.
or UPenn, which is what Cameron Indoor was based on, was UPenn's stadium. That's what makes those places so hard to play at.
Yeah.
You have fans literally right on top of you, and I would love to see that at USM. That would be awesome.
Yeah. Now, given if that happens, there is always the chance that you end up with with a situation where some angry fans. Like I feel like if that setup had been the case when the Louisiana was at Reed Green a week or so ago, I forget how long ago it was, but their coach just went ballistic and got tossed at the end of the game, and he would not leave the court. Like security had to drag him off the court because he wouldn't leave. I could see a situation like that where maybe the fans end up dragging him out.
Hey, citizens arrest.
I'm just kidding, of course, but that it's something you have to consider. But again, shout out to Coach Ladner and the crew. It's been a lot of fun. We've enjoyed watching it, and I'm ready to see how this Troy game goes tonight because you get that win, 5 in a row. You're going to start really stacking up some stuff here. So, okay. So we are going to pivot to football for a little bit because the transfer portal is still going. We still have a few more days of that. We have a lot of different JUCO guys, transfer guys from other D1 schools.
SEC schools.
SEC schools, Big Ten schools, there's a lot of stuff going on. And then the high school stuff has been good too. So I'm going to change our viewpoint here. This is a chart that Scott Watkins, you can find him on X at Scott Watkins TU. He does great work for the Sun Herald, and he has graciously decided to start putting these charts together, and he's been updating them along the way.
It's awesome.
Which is great. I mean, I told him yesterday, like, dude, I greatly appreciate this because this is a lot of stuff to keep up with, but it makes it so easy as a fan, to keep up with all this stuff. So, so in the green up here in the top left corner, that's all the players that are, returning from last year's team. In the purple beneath that, that's all the high school freshmen coming in. That's the new signees coming in there. In the blue on the right side, that's all the transfers that are coming in from D1 schools. And then at the bottom there, that's the JUCO transfer. So we'll dig into it a little bit. Some of the more interesting ones, Ishmael Ibrahim, he's coming back next year. He was injured for pretty much all of this past season, but I think he's got something. I'm excited for that. Mason Clinton, he's coming back. Excited for that. We talked about Hugh Price, the freshman quarterback from Tennessee on the last pod. Obviously excited about that. One of the high school guys coming in, DJ, that I'm really excited about, and I didn't expect, to get this news over the weekend, but Caleb Triplett from Diablerville.
Yep.
He is a stud. Like he won. He's an All-American linebacker. He had offers from North Texas and Mississippi State and, other people. And, he was the MVP of the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game that was played at Southern Miss not too long ago. So that is great. That helps. That makes you feel a little bit better, with Chris Jones leaving, and we still don't know what's happening with him. He committed to Ole Miss and then decommitted the other day. So I don't know what's going on there, but
I bet it's LSU. I think.
Hey, Harold Perkins for LSU announced he's going to the NFL draft early. So that very well might be what ends up happening. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Caleb Triplett, I am very excited about him. I think that's, that was a big get for Blake Anderson and the rest of the guys. And then again, like you mentioned, you look at the transfers, you got several. You got Ethan Hampton. He's the quarterback, or he was a backup quarterback at Illinois. And then previously he was the starter for Northern Illinois, the team that downed, I think it was number 5 or number 4 Notre Dame at the time, two seasons ago, at Notre Dame. So, he has some big experience on his end. You got Caden Saunders, former 4-star wide receiver from Penn State, who's had some injury issues. So he's going to be coming in. We talked about him a little bit on the last pod. You got Mario Sanders coming in from Illinois. So maybe he's got some, chemistry with Ethan Hampton. And then you go down the list, Preston Kilgore, tight end from East Texas A&M. You got Toby Mueller, offensive lineman from Louisiana Tech. Let's see. Let's go a little bit further down. You got defensive lineman Will Smith from North Texas. I thought that was a pretty big one.
Yeah, he's good.
Jeffrey Rush Jr., a former 4-star defensive lineman. He was at Ole Miss, didn't get to play a lot last year. He's transferring to Southern Miss. Let's see. You got Jair Brown, USC defensive back. You got Jordan Pride from Texas A&M. Champ Lewis was another big one, DJ, from Tulsa. He's one of the better defensive backs in the portal, according to several people. And that was another one I wasn't expecting. But, shout out to the coaching staff and look, it helps as a selling point to show these kids, especially these defensive backs, how, we led the nation in interceptions this past season. That's a big selling point. It's like, hey, you can come here and continue this success and build a name for yourself and see where it goes from there. So that was a big one too. And then obviously you have several different JUCO guys. One running back, Steven Robinson. I'm pretty excited about him. I think he's going to have something to prove. But overall, DJ, I mean, this has been a very successful portal period and bringing these high school guys in, and there's still more to go. Like this last update, that chart I just showed y'all and talked about, that was yesterday. So I mean, there's still several different additions that are going to happen in the coming days that we'll talk about next time. But
Yeah, we're nowhere near done.
I'm excited, dude. I mean, this went from when you go through a coaching change and you had the success that you did this past season, starting 7-2, and then your coach leaves and takes most of the roster with him, and guys are graduating and all that. Like in my head, like I'm like, Blake Anderson, I know he can do it. Like he's done it before, he's proven it. But there's always like this little bit of doubt just while the roster is empty. It's like you're just kind of like what's going to happen? And then as it starts filling out, it's like, okay, yeah, well, we knew he could do it, and he seems like he's doing it. Now, obviously, you have to go out on the field and prove, that you're scouting these guys correctly and that they're going to turn out the way you think. But I'm excited, dude. I think this is going to be a great start to the Blake Anderson era. And I don't know how many games this team is going to end up winning next season, but I would not be shocked, especially with JMU's team, JMU and Old Dominion's teams getting plundered for their best players. I could see us competing for a Sun Belt title yet again next year, so I'm excited about it.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what other pieces move into play, but I'm very happy to see that we've targeted linemen pretty heavily.
The trenches.
Yeah, because that at times that was a little bit of a concern, but the guy from Ole Miss, he's a really, really, really good hole plugger. And that was basically the whole scouting report on that guy. So people like him are going to allow our linebackers and our secondary to do what they're known for doing. Yeah. So I'm very happy to see that was a focus. The quarterback from Illinois could be very interesting. Like you said, he played some big time minutes for Northern Illinois back in the day, and he was probably recruited to Illinois as someone to give Luke Altmaier some competition. Now, Luke Altmaier obviously, was a Heisman contender at one time. So, I mean, you're playing behind one of the best quarterbacks in the country. So, I think that he actually has a lot to prove, and he's going to come in with a chip on his shoulder and could put up some pretty outstanding numbers. Yeah. So,
especially overall, with receivers, these weapons that they're putting around him,
dude. Yeah,
I think whoever gets in there, they're going to. I think I'm really encouraged, and I like the receiver group that's coming in here. So, I mean, I think it's whoever ends up being the quarterback, the starting quarterback. I think their life is going to be made a little bit easier. And especially if the offensive line pans out the way I think it will be, because I think you got some gritty dudes in there right now that know what they're doing. Now you have a little bit of let me pull that up. Some of the offensive linemen that are coming in are, they're not very experienced when it comes to D1 play. Like you got Joe Rounds from Virginia Union, Toby Miller from Louisiana Tech, who, didn't play for Louisiana Tech last year, Christian Young, Emory and Henry. None of these guys have played at the D1 level. And then you have, several offensive linemen coming from the JUCO ranks. So that's going to be the big key. How does the offensive line develop? Because physically and, coming from the level that they were playing at previously, it seems like, they can get it done, but it's just guys that haven't had their opportunity to show, what they can do. So that's going to be the biggest question. I'm not worried about who ends up being potentially the quarterback anymore, since we do have some, movement in the quarterback department now. Mm-hmm. Not worried about the receivers, not worried about the run backs. Let's see how that offensive line ends up being, because I think they're capable. They've got the physical attributes, but they just don't have the experience. So we don't know how all that's going to mesh. But that's the biggest key. If they come in and they can mesh pretty quick, I think this team is going to be pretty good next year. So
there's only one way to get experience, and that's by experiencing. So
yeah. And as far as the defense goes, I think they're going to be, pretty nasty because, especially in the secondary, they've gotten some guys that I just wouldn't have thought. Like the Champ Lewis thing just blew me out of the way. I did not think that was going to happen I figured he was going to end up going to a P4 school. So, shout out to Blake Anderson and his coaching staff for going out and making some noise there. And then I'm sure there will be another quarterback added at some point.
Yeah.
Because I still hadn't heard anything. I'm assuming, I don't know. There hasn't been any news that Landry Liddy has entered the transfer portal or, anything's happened with that. But I assume Liddy might be sticking around. I assume John White, he might be sticking around. I don't know. All I know is we had 3 quarterbacks go out transfer wise, and only 2 have come back in. So I'm expecting at least one more quarterback. So we'll see how that goes. One final thing, the baseball team. Baseball season's coming up. The hype continues to build. One of the rankings we talked about last time had them at number 23 to start this year in preseason rankings. Well, now D1 baseball, which is mainly the one we care about, has them ranked number 20 in the preseason ranking. So this is not a joke. This is not one of those things where you start the season out with people overlooking you. Southern Miss baseball is very much on the radar for the national people. So now it's time to go out there and do it. You got several different guys who are on the preseason Sunbelt awards lists and stuff of that nature, but very excited. They're going to start out against that UC Santa Barbara with that UC Santa Barbara series. Going to be a big one on Valentine's Day weekend. And then they got some major games after that too. And I'm looking forward for that Mississippi State game that we play at the Pete later this season too, because Mississippi State's ranked number 4 in the nation, and they're supposed to be, rock solid top to bottom. So good stuff coming. I'm very excited. And it's a great time to be a Golden Eagle. From a sports year, it's been pretty great so far, and I'm ready to see how the rest of this year goes as we get out of this sports year and into the next one. Because I think some good things are on the way. But any final thoughts before we take off here, DJ?
Yeah, so the Fighting Builderbacks just had a nice bounce back win against Texas State. Not sure what happened at App State. I didn't get to watch it because I couldn't find it anywhere.
Elevation, maybe.
Do what?
The elevation, maybe.
Maybe, I don't know. That's probably what it was.
5,000 plus feet elevation or something.
Either way, I can tell you that Coach Builderback made sure that was not an acceptable outcome. And so, I think that has really shown up in this game's performance. They beat Texas State by 14 points, and they were up by more than that for the majority of the game. Texas State kind of made a late run, but shout out to them. Way to get a bounce back win, back on the right course. Onward to the championship, baby.
That's right. Hey, we're halfway through the season. So, you still got a lot of time to make adjustments and to get people in a groove. And, once you get to that conference tournament, all bets are off. You don't know how things are going to go from there. But it's good to see. That shows the character, to have a loss like that and then to bounce back in that kind of way. That's that's the Southern Miss way. Never stay down. Pick yourself up, right. Keep going. So
that's right. All the way to the top.
To the top.
To the top, baby.
And hopefully don't have any to the top moments,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
that everybody
I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, that everybody talks about. But we're not gonna. We're out of sight, out of mind. Forget I even said that. It's all gonna be great this year.
Yep. Good vibes from here on out, baby.
We're going to Omaha. We're going to March Madness. It's happening. So,
both teams are going to March Madness.
Both teams, March Madness. So we're willing it into existence here.
That's right.
Well, guys, look, we appreciate y'all joining us and listening to us ramble a little bit every week. We're glad to be back and, be in the swing of things again. And I mentioned it on the last pod, but stay tuned because we have some great stuff coming in the next couple of weeks. New media venture that I think everybody's going to be excited about, and I'm ready to debut that. But I can't give you, I know I'm teasing, but I can't give you the technical stuff on it just yet. As soon as it is finalized, we will be bringing that news to you. But guys, we appreciate it. Y'all have a great rest of your week. And be sure to go like, rate, and subscribe on all your favorite podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Leave us some reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It really helps us out. We're also on YouTube now as well. If you're on Substack, if you're watching on Substack, be sure to go to YouTube and subscribe on YouTube, because in these next couple of weeks with this new media venture coming on, and I put it in the last post I did on Substack, but we're probably going to start phasing out the Substack stuff. So, because it's just it posts automatically to YouTube from there anyway. So we're just cutting out an extra step that's going to save us a little time with this new stuff coming up. So if you are listening on Substack, be sure to go subscribe on YouTube so you continue to get your weekly updates when we post, because eventually we're still going to put it on Substack for now, but in the next few weeks we're going to start phasing that out. So guys, appreciate it. Y'all have a great rest of your day, great rest of your week. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.